Okay, let's take a look at units, duration, and work in Microsoft Project and figure out how that impacts tasks that are automatically scheduled, and also understand when we're going to use those fixed duration, fixed units, and fixed work type of tasks. Hop into Microsoft Project, and what we're going to do is we're going to create some tasks that are going to be the basis for our examples that we're going to create, like a little demo lab here to try to understand things. And so we're going to go with a couple different tasks. They're not related, but they'll help demonstrate the concepts that we're trying to learn. So the first thing we're going to do is a task for like a race check-in for like a running race or something like that. And you'll notice that I forgot to set my tasks to be automatically scheduled by default. And so I'm going to go down there and do that, and then set this one to be automatically scheduled. All right, the next task we're going to do is we're going to host a concert. All right, and we're also going to paint a house. All right, so I'm not going to do anything else with these tasks right now, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go over here to the Add New Column, and I'm going to show the Work column so that we can see the impact that our changes have on work. All right. And if you're in this video, you probably are already familiar with the fact that each task, if we go to the information about a task, has a task type, whether it's fixed units, duration, or work. And we can also have a column show up that will show us that, so we don't get confused as to which task is which. So I'm going to add a column here and then set that to be the type of task. And currently they're all set to fixed units because that is the default in Microsoft Project. Okay, in order for this to work though, we really need some resources, some, in this case, people that are going to work on these tasks. So I'm going to go to the resource sheet and create those resources. And I'm going to create a different resource for each of those tasks. So for the first one, I'm going to create a volunteer, somebody who has volunteered to come to the race and help check people in. And that is going to be a work type. They're a volunteer, so I'm not going to put in any rate. And you'll see here that they are on the base calendar, or the standard base calendar. So the next one that we're going to do is we're going to have a security guard. If we're having a concert, we probably will want to have some security guards there to make sure that people aren't going places they shouldn't. And so that's we're going to set that for work. And just to keep our calculations as simple to understand as possible, we'll set that up as a standard rate of $10 per hour. The last resource that we're going to add is going to be a paint crew. And we can go ahead and set them at the $10 per hour mark. Not that that is what you would actually pay them, but that's going to be the easiest to understand. And then let's say that there are 3 people on that paint crew. So we're going to set that at 300%. And just to make things interesting, this volunteer here, let's say that they've said that they are a volunteer, so we're not paying them, but they have generously offered to give us half of a day when they do volunteer. So we're going to set them to 50%. Okay, so security guards working a normal day of 8 hours. And just to keep us from having resource conflicts, let's say that we have 5 of those security guards. So I'm going to set that to 500%. So we have 5 security guards available. We have 3 people on our paint crew and a volunteer that is willing to work half days. So I'm going to go back into the Gantt chart and let's kind of just take a look at how this plays out. And it looks like I accidentally set up my tasks way far down in this. I'm going to go ahead and delete these tasks real quick and bring all that back up to the top. Okay. So first for the race check-in, we can go ahead and we can put our volunteer in. They said they would volunteer. So I'm going to hit enter. And just to show that they are at 50%. And let's say we have the race is going to be, let's say we're going to have check-in on 2 different days. Okay, that's pretty common. And so I'm going to type in a 2 on day. And now if we look at work, we can see that that person is going to be working a total of 8 hours, which would make sense because they're going to be working on Friday and on Monday, excuse me, over here. If it's confusing to you that it's spanning 4 days, we could go ahead and set this task to start on like March 2nd. And we're not going to link them. Okay, so we've got that starting on March 2nd. Over here we can see 8 hours. Now, what happens on this fixed units task if we were to change the hours and say, well, actually, we need 16 hours of race check-in time. If I hit the arrow key over, now you look, and this is shaded because we just changed it to 16 hours. And it also shows us in shading that this is going to now be a 4-day task rather than a 2-day task. And that has impacted our finish time, which will be 4 days into the future. And over here on the Gantt chart, you can see that indeed it is Monday through Thursday. All right, so that's what fixed units is. We're not going to change the amount of time a person works in a day. And if we want to see this in a day-by-day impact, we can go up here to the View tab, click on Details, and we're going to go to Task Usage. And what that will show us as we scroll over here is for each day that that volunteer is working, there is 4 hours, and those units have been fixed. So if we say this is a 5-day event instead, it is not going to change the time that they work in a day. It is going to say, well, okay, that's 20 hours now, and we have to go 5 days, and we've stopped we've adjusted our finish time. All right, so that's fixed units. For the concert, we're going to switch this to be a fixed duration task. And that makes sense because, like, let's say we have a concert that is a multi-day concert. Maybe we're bringing in many different bands, and we're going to need some security for that. And so let's say it's a 3-day. Let's set the start date first. We're going to set that also to be on March 2nd here. And I just want to move it. Okay. So now you can see that my concert starts on the 2nd, and I thought I set that to a 3-day concert. Okay, there we go. So now we're at 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, and perhaps we need 3 different security guards is what we've decided. So the way I'm going to do this, it's much easier to go up here to the Resource tab and click on Assign Resources. And then I can say that I'm going to assign the security guard, and I'm going to assign 3 of them. I'll click on Assign, and I'm going to close this. And we'll go ahead and make that a little bit wider. So we can see we've got 3 security guards, okay? And they're going to each work 8 hours a day. So that's 24 hours times 3 days. That's where we get our 72 hours over here. All right, so if I change the number of security guards, that fixed duration is going to stay at those 3 days, which is what I want. Just because I have a security guard that quits right before the concert doesn't mean I'm going to change how many days the concert is. And it appears that I was not successful in doing that. So let's go back over here and we'll hit enter on that. And now we've got it down to 2 guards. So our hours of work have gone down, yes, but the duration of the concert has not changed. So that's what we would want. Let's say, however, we decide that one of the days in the concert isn't going to be successful. So, or maybe one of our bands on the last day cancels. And so now it's a 2-day concert. Okay. Now we've got 2 guards working 8 hours a day. That's 16 hours a day at 2 days, 32 hours of work. That is what we would expect. So that's when a fixed duration task would be useful. The last option we have is the fixed work. Okay. And so let's say we go and we bid to paint a house, and we figure that it will take 80 hours of work to paint this house. So I'm going to come over and type in 80 hours of work. Okay. And now I have to decide, like, how many of these people on my paint crew am I going to assign to this? And let's also say that we have told them that we're going to start on March 2nd. Okay, so that has been defined. So now I'm going to go to the Assign Resources window again, and I'm going to add my paint crew. And let's say I can only send 2 of my painters there. All right, so once I assign them, I've got 2 painters coming, and it says that should take us about 5 days. And why? Well, 1 painter working a full-time week would be 40 hours. 2 painters, that's 80 hours. And so they could knock this job out in 1 week. Let's say I go ahead and I am able to get the other painter, and so I put them in at 3 painters. I'll hit enter there, and now I can close this. We've still got 80 hours, and if you look down here, 80 hours, we can see that if we have 3 painters, we're going to work 24 hours on that first day, 24 on the second, 24 on the third. Now we're at 72 hours, and so on that 4th day, we really only need to paint for 8 hours between the 3 painters. And so that's why that work has been changed in that time phased area down there. Let's also suppose that for some reason we decide we would like to do this over a period of 15 days. Kind of nonsensical, but let's give it a shot. And what I want you to see is that the work hours are not going to change. The number of people assigned to that task are not going to change. But it is going to impact how many hours, how many units that crew is going to work on a given day. It also extends the task out quite a bit because we said it's going to take 15 days. But here's where the real difference is between this and a fixed units task. If we have 3 people painting, or actually to make the math easier, let's go ahead and change it to 2 people painting. So I'm going to go ahead, knock this down to 200. I'm going to hit enter, and now I've locked it in. 2 people painting on an 80-hour job should be able to knock that job out in 5 days. Now let's say that we see that the last 2 days of the week there's going to be rain, and so we need to finish painting this house in 3 days. If I type in 3 days and I'm going to tab over, you'll now see that these painters are scheduled for 26.67 hours per day to finish the project within 3 days. That is the big difference between a fixed units task and a fixed work task. You can also see that we've got this message up here that says, hey, we're overscheduled because our painters only paint 8 hours a day. And that's when you would have to go in and make that adjustment. But that's going to be beyond the scope of this video. So I hope this helps you understand duration versus work versus units and how they all interrelate with each other.